The family of Russian prisoner Paul Whelan says he's feeling abandoned by the U.S. government. Whelan is the Canadian-born ex-U.S. Marine who's been jailed in Russia for more than 1,500 days. A Moscow court sentenced him to 16 years for espionage. Washington says he's been wrongfully detained. But Whelan's family says he's losing hope now upon learning another American has been arrested in Russia. Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gershkovich. Earlier, I spoke with Paul Whelan's brother, David. I asked him how Paul is doing.
Not very well. I think it has been hard. He is trying to survive day to day, and you try to maintain hope in whatever way you can. But when you hear that another American has been detained in the same way that you were 4 years ago, I think you start to wonder whether anything is getting better, anything is improving.
You know, David, you and I had a chance to speak last year, December 9th, 2022, following the release of Brittany Griner, the U.S. basketball star, and your tone was very different. You were very hopeful then. Several months have passed. What's changed?
Well, I don't think we've seen anything change since we last spoke. The Secretary of State has made a statement that there is another proposal for the Kremlin to consider, and that's all we've really heard for the last 4 months. And so we're seeing neither movement forward to bring Paul home and resolve his case, nor are we seeing a successful deterrence of the Kremlin for doing it again. So I think as each American gets detained in Russia, it just becomes harder. And I think at some point your hope starts to wear a little bit.
And I guess to that point, of course, you officials have also been careful to point out that every detainee's case is very unique. That's certainly a line that I'm sure you and your family are very familiar with. What do you think makes Paul's case especially challenging?
That's the mystery, isn't it? I heard the special presidential envoy for hostage affairs speaking on the radio last week, and he couldn't answer that question. So yeah, it's mind-boggling to me that we're in this position. I think the difficulty we had is that with Brittany Griner and with Trevor Reed, two Americans who were released last year, those cases really were different. I mean, there were different charges. The Russians treated them differently, less severe. But now we've got another American who's charged with the identical crime, is likely to go through the identical process. And so we're not really dealing with different cases any longer. So I'm not sure how the U.S. is going to solve it.
And that's what I wanted to ask you about. When you first heard about the detainment of the Wall Street Journal reporter, what went through your mind?
Oh, my heart just fell. I mean, I could imagine first what he is going through, because we knew what Paul had gone through those first couple of days when you're isolated, but also what his family's probably going through. I mean, it's an awful experience to have to suffer, and you would never want to see anybody else have to go through it.
You know, when we take a look at the statement that was made here that Paul feels like he may be abandoned, how do you feel hearing that from your brother?
It's hard to feel that or hear that. The only way he's going to survive for even 16 years, let alone until the U.S. government can solve his case, is by maintaining a positive mental spirit while he's there. And to the extent that it's damaged now or that he's rattled, I think that we will be concerned about his ability to continue to go on and do it in a healthy way.
You know, David, I was reading some of the reporting that has been done on Paul's case, and we saw here, as you mentioned, the special presidential envoy for hostage affairs said on CNN that his spirits are still good. Speaking of your brother, he's still remaining strong, he's still resilient, and he also sings the national anthem every day from his prison cell. He's ready to come home. When you hear the characterization of how he's doing versus what your parents have told you over the weekend, what goes through your mind there? How does that make you feel? Do you think it's accurate?
Well, I think the State Department has a very particular understanding of what Paul's condition is, and probably, like many people who are put in this situation, you want to display hope, you want to display resilience, that you've got strength. I think he has created a number of routines where he sings the national anthem in the morning to, I think, both irritate the guards, but also give himself a regular thing that he does mentally. But you start to question, well, how long can you do that for? And I think that the State Department may be holding on to older or perhaps not realistic expressions that Paul's made, and we may be getting to the heart of what he really is feeling right now.
David Whelan, whose brother Paul is imprisoned in Russia. Stay with us. You're watching CBC News Network.